What's going on, guys? I'm Zero Photo and welcome to the channel. It's 2025 with a bunch of cameras flooding the market right now, from the Ursa 12K to the Pixis 12K to the regular Pixis to the Sony Venice extension unit to, I could go all day and I don't think I would get to the end of this list. But I want to talk to the newbies, to the starters in this business. Look, you're getting into a really fragile market. And what I mean by that is that this is a market that's actually quite volatile. What do I mean? Hear me out. So, in all honesty, I never thought this day would come. The day I would see a red Komodo cost less than a Sony FX3. That is quite intriguing because now we're comparing very two different worlds. However, before I go through the comparison and I talk about the pros into jumping into the red bandwagon or staying within the Sony world, please go ahead and subscribe, hit the little follow button, or do hit the bell button. That way you'll be notified on future videos like this one. A lot of content creators have bought into the cinematic footage idea, and now everything you see on YouTube has to be cinematic because I assure you, with a DJI Osmo Pocket 3, you could get amazing footage that you could basically use for any content creation use you could possibly need. Unless, of course, you're a cinematographer and you want to show your behind the scenes and whatnot. And even that, you could use that. So I really don't know what people purchase these super expensive cameras for. But I think for me, I do understand, because why would you settle for less if you can get more? And what I mean by that is, here we go with the Sony FX3. What can you extract out of the Sony FX3? Because I happen to own both these cameras, and right now I'm filming this video on the Red Komodo, and I'm gonna tell you why would I pick this camera up compared to the Sony FX3? Because these cameras are both used in very different purposes. And let's start with the first thing first: ease of use. I don't think anything, again, I don't think anything comes close to what you can get out of a Sony FX3. And before anybody jumps on me, let me explain myself. So before anybody tells me, oh, well, you just never shot with the Red Komodo, you just don't know, how amazing the picture is on that camera. You can send me FX3 footage and Red Komodo footage. I will match those cameras within 10 minutes, and I'll have you tell me which one is which. And I assure you, you won't be able to tell me the difference between the two. And I get it. It's a matter of preference. We all do have preferences, and it's just the way life is. And I would never tell somebody how they should spend their money. But the good thing about the Sony FX3 is that you can purchase that camera, just pull it out of the bag or out of the box, put a battery in it, power it up, and start using it right away. Filming, nothing extra needed. With the Red Komodo, it doesn't end there, because, yeah, you will need to have a huge investment. So don't get fooled by the price of that $3,000, I think it is now, compared to the Sony FX3, $4,000. Because just purchasing the camera, you're going to need some fast memory cards, CFast cards, which cost you roughly about 200 to 500 bucks, depending on the size that you decide to purchase. So that's one. On top of that, you do have to get ND filters, which you would need that with the Sony FX3 anyway. But the good thing is that Red Komodo has a huge issue with some IR pollution, which is a huge problem for anybody that's ever owned a Red Komodo. That's a huge problem with Reds. Not to say that Sony doesn't have the same issue, but it's not nearly as bad as it is on Red. Number three, you're going to need handles. You're going to need batteries that are super expensive just to use your Red Komodo. And on top of that, the lenses are not cheap, because you need RF lenses, or you can actually use your E-mount. Well, now you can use your E-mount lenses on the Red, Nikon Z mount. So That's just to show you the little benefits of each platform. The Sony FX3 comes with a handle on top of it, so you can actually put a boom mic and get phantom power into the camera, well, out of the camera, and actually get amazing sound quality in it. The Red Komodo does not have phantom power, which basically you end up using something like this, or you use time code to sync your audio afterwards. So those are just little differences that I could sit here. So they are little things, really, if you think about it, but they can go a long way. Now let's talk about storage. Man, I'm telling you, it is frustrating because yes, you do get beautiful images that are going to be a pain in your butt to store. Why? Because they're super heavy, and yeah, they require a lot of media, and media is not cheap. So you would need something like a terabyte hard drive just to store, most of your footage. Otherwise, it becomes very problematic really quick. That's a pro for the FX3 because you have different codecs that you can shoot in 4K, XAVC, SI, I believe. That's the highest, and then you have XAVCI. Sorry, I mixed those up, but you get the point if you have a Sony FX3, so you already know. So now, do you need to upgrade to a Sony or downgrade to a Komodo, or should I say upgrade to a Komodo and downgrade to a Sony? It's up to you. However you see it. If the shoe fits, wear it because whichever platform you get, it all depends on what you're doing. Now, if you're a solo shooter, I would highly recommend you just stick with the Red and go with it. And now, if you do own those cameras, is it worth upgrading to the Pixis and whatever? Man, I'm telling you, if you think storing 6K is a nightmare, try 12K. you know, you're going to rethink that choice real quick because yes, the image is beautiful, it's gorgeous. Whatever camera you get nowadays, you can get amazing footage out of that camera. If there is one thing you should upgrade your editing skills because those will take you a long way. And it doesn't matter what kind of camera you have. If you are a good editor, you can basically make magic happen with whatever it is you're editing with or you're shooting with. So now going to the primary point that I was trying to get across. In 2025, do you need to sell your current camera to go with Blackmagic or Red or Sony or whatever? Don't. It's a waste of money and time and energy, really. I mean, if you ask me, it's not my money, so I really couldn't care less, what you do. We as videographer, things are getting tougher and tougher because the competition is increasing and decreasing at the same time, depending on where you live, uh, your city, and everything. Because gear is getting more and more expensive. Inflation. Now we have tariffs to worry about and everything else that comes with it. So those are all things that you need to take into consideration if you're moving into this business or you've already been in it. And because gear is gonna get refreshed. That's just the way it works. I've been a videographer for 7 years now, and I can tell you since I started to now, I started with the Sony S7 III, and look where we are today. So things are changing and they're moving pretty fast, pretty quick. But again, it's up to you as the creator, as the videographer, to decide where you headed and what kind of gear fits well with your style of shooting. What it is that you shoot. Do you need autofocus? Do you not? I don't use a lot of autofocus. So I only have two autofocus lenses, and that's two Sigmas, the 24 to 70 and the 18 to 35 for my Sony FX3 and Sony FX30. But I do have a DZO Vespid set of seven lenses that I use. That's my primary uh, lens set. And then I have two DZO Catazooms that I do use for both my Komodo and my Sony's, and they're both PLs. So I really don't care much about the autofocus, but sometimes, I'm not gonna lie to you, sometimes it gets really interesting to have that autofocus when you need it most. And a red Komodo is never going to be a Sony FX3. And that is why I still do have my Sony FX3, because a lot of my clients still ask for it. So, yeah, I do have all this fancy extra stuff that I had to use on my Komodo, i.e., this DJI Focus Pro handle and whatnot. As you can see, it's a red Komodo, and I get autofocus. Look, it's not perfect. It's certainly not a Sony FX3. I can assure you that, despite the fact that it's really good, but it's not good enough to replace your Sony camera. So think twice, think wisely before you make that move. And if you have any questions regarding any of these systems, feel free to ask them down there. But if there is anything I'd upgrade, upgrade those editing skills. They will take you a long way.